Hey there, how's it going? My name is David, you're watching Kai City RC, and in today's video we're going to be talking Tamiya versus high-end. Now before we begin, a couple of points to note. First, a disclaimer, I am by no means a pro racer. Like many of my viewers, I suspect. I raced back in the day, some 30 odd years ago, and since then I haven't really ventured onto a track all that much. I only really started running high end since just after summer of last year, so 4 or 5 months ago. So I don't have a lot of experience with high end, so just bear that in mind. Secondly, I'm not going to be comparing specs because I really don't think there's much point. If you're interested in specs, they can be found online, but I'll save you some time. You get way better spec car with high end than you do anything from Tamiya. That much is a given. So this isn't going to be about specs. And then finally, although the video I'm talking about my Tamiya's the DTO2 and the TTO2B versus Yokomo's YZ2 Cal 3.1 and YZ4 SF2, this can apply to pretty much any high end. Tamiya is a bit unique, I suppose, in where it's placed in the market. To my mind, there's not very many other manufacturers that produce, kits similar to Tamiya kits, DTO2, DTO3, TTO2B, etc. DBO1, those kind of kits. But there are several other high-end manufacturers, the likes of Team Associated, X-Ray, etc. Now with that out of the way, let's talk Tamiya versus high-end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this as brief as I can. I'm going to basically give you 3 scenarios. So scenario 1, you are thinking to go to a circuit for the first time. You don't have any kind of like indoor or outdoor. I mean, this applies to indoor or outdoor. You don't have any kind of what I would call circuit racers. So you're wondering, should you pick up a Tamiya to race, or should you just go the whole hog straight from the beginning and pick up a high-end buggy? Second scenario is people who already have something like a DTO2, DTO3, TTO2B or something, a circuit racer that they've been using, and are wondering, is it worth spending the extra and making the leap to high-end? And the final scenario is for those people who are only running high-end at the moment and are wondering, perhaps, would it be worth picking up a Tamiya, a quote, cheap Tamiya, to run around the circuit? So without further ado, let's get on to it. Okay, so scenario 1, you're thinking about going to a circuit, you don't have any kind of circuit racer buggies, and you're wondering which one you should get. My advice is very simple. Visit the circuit you plan to race at. If you're lucky and you have more than one, visit all of them. Go there, talk to the people who are racing there, talk to the drivers there, see what people are running, because if everybody is running exclusively high-end, then as much as I love Tamiya, it would be very difficult for you to be the only person running Tamiya at such a circuit. And likewise, if everybody's just running Tamiya, showing up with high-end is obviously completely feasible, but you would feel a little bit out of place, I suspect, being the only one running high-end, because you're going to be, well, straight away you're going to be much quicker than everybody else, unless you're a really bad driver. So yeah, my advice, if you are just starting out and you're wondering what to pick up, visit your local circuits, talk to the people there, see what kind of things people are running, see what kind of races they hold, and then make a decision based on that. Okay, so next, if you've already got something like a DTO2 like I had, or a DTO3 or a TTO2B or something similar, and you're thinking, should you pick up a high-end? What can I tell you? Be aware that there are lots of extra costs involved in going to high-end that don't immediately present themselves. So it's not just the cost of the kit itself. You will find that in order to get the most out of your high-end buggy, you will need to use high-end electronics. Cheap servos aren't going to cut it. You're going to need fast, preferably metal geared servos. You're going to need good quality batteries, and you're going to need a good quality ESC motor combo. I mean, Hobbywing do very reasonably priced combo sets, and that can certainly get you started. But it's not just the cost of getting the buggy and putting electronics in it. You need to buy wheels and tires, and with high end, the faster you go and the more speed you carry, the quicker you will run down tires. Once again, I'm talking from a user. I race mainly on indoor carpet, so your tire wear may differ if you're going to be running on an outdoor dirt circuit, but certainly indoor carpet, I go through tires on my high end way faster than I do with my Tamiya. And since certainly an indoor carpet circuit with high end, you absolutely must glue your tires and glue them properly. It means that once your tires are worn down, the easiest option is just to replace the wheels as well, and so it can get expensive. So after I picked up my first two-wheel drive high-end buggy, a Yokomo YZ2 Cal 3.1, and that basically, I wouldn't say replaced my DTO2, but it supplemented my DTO2. The first things I noticed, well, I started out with a small opinion in my YZ2, but as you can imagine, a high-end buggy with high-spec electronics in it versus a DTO2 with mid-range electronics at best. I mean, the difference is night and day performance-wise. It was so much easier to drive the YZ2 Cal 3.1 than the DTO2. The performance is just, well, to borrow a phrase from a fellow YouTuber, off the charts. I mean, yeah, objectively, it's far superior. In fact, the only way that the DTO2 was better than the YZ2, I guess, would be price and looks, and the latter of those is purely subjective anyway. Now, while the performance was far superior, as you'd imagine, the big standout for me wasn't the performance so much, it was just the durability. I found that when I crashed my DTO2, if I crashed hard, it would always break. Something would always break, and so you were constantly spending money on hop-ups to try and improve the handling, improve the durability. Whereas the YZ2, from the start, it's already really durable. It's already got everything you could ever want in terms of adjustment, suspension, caster, anti-squat, you name it, you can adjust it. But again, like I just said, the big standout was durability. I could crash the YZ2 a lot, and I did crash it a lot. And the first 3 months that I raced it, I didn't break a single thing. I had a few screws work loose, but that was it. And so for me, the biggest benefit, I guess, of going to high end wasn't the extra speed and performance or the thrills you get from, you know, clearing a big double or even a triple. It's more about just being able to, I guess, run around a little less hesitantly, I want to say, a little less carefully, because you know that if you do make a mistake, which you will do, it's not necessarily going to result in broken parts. So is it worth picking up a high end? Well, if other people at your local track circuit are running high end and you can afford to the initial cost, then yeah, go for it. It's not going to make you a better driver overnight, but it will offer the room to kind of progress as a driver, I suppose, and to pick up speed and go faster and faster. And certainly if you kind of feel that you've reached the limitations of your Tamiya, you could keep throwing money at it and more aluminium hop-ups and try to run a faster motor in it, but at the end of the day, it would just be more cost effective to pick up a high end and go from there than start putting really powerful brushless motors in something like a DTO3 or TTO2B. Even if you do spend a lot of money on upgrades, it will never be as adjustable and as tough as a high-end kit from the get-go. And the final scenario, which I don't think is very likely, but perhaps there are some people out there who are exclusively running high-end and wondering, is it worth picking up a Tamiya just to potter around in, I guess. Absolutely. I found that the amount of money I've spent on the buggy has no correlation to how much I enjoy running it. I have just as much fun, if not more, running my cheap and cheerful Grasshopper and DTO2 around the circuit as I do with my YZ2 or YZ4. Sure, the speeds are totally different, but the enjoyment is just the same. In a lot of ways, it is more difficult to drive a Grasshopper around a circuit slowly than it is to drive a high-end fast, if that makes sense, because the Grasshopper, as a good example, the handling is just so bad that just getting around the circuit is a challenge in itself. High end, if you're not pushing to the max and you're just driving comfortably and you've not got crazy motors in there, then the buggies are just so, if you've got them set up properly, the handling is so good that they almost drive themselves. So I mean, they don't, but I hope I'm not very good at getting this point across. I think a lot of people automatically assume the more money you spend on your buggy, the more fun it's going to be. I find that not to be the case. And in actual fact, I will race, when I go to the circuit for a day, I will run my Tamiyas just as much as I run the high end, sometimes even more. And just because I enjoy running them more. With a Tamiya, once you get good at it, the trick is to try and push as much as you can, but you can't push too far because you're going to break parts. And so you're always looking to shave off time by driving consistently. You've got to get right close to that apex, and you've got to push as hard as you can within the limits of the buggy. And I always find that to be much more of a challenge. Well, there we go. This has been I've been trying to keep this under 10 minutes, so excuse me if I seem to be rushing. But I've already made one video on this, but it ended up being nearly half an hour long. Now, if you are trying to get to sleep and you're looking for some cure for insomnia, and you are interested in the backstory of how I ended up with these 4 buggies, then I'll put a link in the description to an unlisted video on YouTube. Feel free to go there, watch the video, fall asleep, and we'll... I'm going to shut up now. I hope everyone has a good day. I'll catch you next one. My name is David. This was Kai City RC. Oh, and look out for Dirt Master video. It should be coming soon. Catch you in the next one.